everyone for joining me. I'm having such a good time tonight with you guys for Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. I am thrilled that I picked this as the first live event for this channel. I've never done a live event before, and I was so nervous as to how it was going to turn out, and thanks to all of you, it was so much fun. We just watched 3 hours of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, and I am so happy to say that for almost the entire time, we were watching simultaneously with 1,000 people. Now that's a way to watch the movie. So we're going to start here. We're going to talk till about midnight Eastern Standard Time. That's like 30 minutes. I just want to let you know that there is a delay as to what I am seeing and to what you're seeing. So that's why you're going to notice that it takes me about 10 seconds to see your questions and to answer them. So let's get started. I'm very excited. So I'm going to start looking for questions to answer. Now, the chat's going very fast, which I think is wonderful that you guys are so excited. But so I'm going to try and pick up questions where I can. All right. So let's see here. Someone says, let's see here. I got to make sure I can get this here. All right. So Jack's Master Videos says, do you like Watchmen? If so, who's your favorite character? Well, Watchmen, I think, is a good thing to bring up here because of that, of course, is Zack Snyder's, one of his big comic book movies, really cemented his relationship with Warner Brothers. And for some of the flaws that are in that film, I think that the opening credit sequence is one of the best things ever put on film. As for Watchmen, I really like Dr. Manhattan, and I also like Rorschach, of course. I like Silk Spectre in the comics, and actually everyone should read the Watchmen prequels that DC put out a few years ago. They're absolutely spectacular, and it made me appreciate Silk Spectre a little bit more. But very, very good. I don't actually hate the idea of bringing them into the regular DC universe, which of course was the big surprise with DC Rebirth, and I was like, bad idea. Don't want to see it happen. All right, so let's get started. Let's get the next question here. I can pause the questions a little bit here over on one of these here. So let's see here. I like this one here. All right, let's see here. 1 second. Oh, I have a good question. Let me see if I can find it. I can't credit everybody because it's going so fast. But I had a couple of people ask me, who do you think Jena Malone is? And do you think she's Barbara Gordon? All right, so, and also Daga Love says, Jena Malone, needed in the movie or not? I would say, someone told me the volume's a little low. I'll try and bring it up a little bit. First of all, I don't think Jena Malone needed to be in the movie whatsoever. She had an extremely small part. And also I thought she was doing an acting job comparable to Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Now, you can debate whether or not I'm talking about quality. But I will say that I think that both of them have this weird, manic, theatrical quality to themselves. And I would have said on set, I'd be like, Jena, Jesse's already doing quirky and theatrical. You can't do it too. You know, he got to it first. He has the bigger role. You're going to have to choose something different to do. So I thought that she wasn't needed, and I thought she didn't add anything. I wasn't watching the movie being like, if only there were more Jena Malone. I was like, this seems like a weird addition. As for who she was playing, I too thought that maybe she was Barbara Gordon. You know, from the trailer, people thought maybe she was Cat Grant because she was blonde. She was talking to Lois about journalism. It looked like the offices of the Daily Planet at first glance. But in the movie, it's actually revealed that she is the ballistics expert that Lois brings that bullet to from the desert from her journal to try and figure out what's going on there. So I'm not sure who she was, but I think it's conceivable that she was Barbara Gordon. A weird Barbara Gordon who's blonde and doesn't work for the Gotham, police department, but I think the connection could have been made. And she wasn't paralyzed either, so it's just a weird thing to include. I really was not super into that. All right, so that's that question. Let me find another one here. I want to thank everybody for all these great questions. All right. Okay, so this is, I guess, the bottom line here. Caden Sims says, which version do you like better? Now, as I said at the end of the live streaming experience, after 3 hours, I really do prefer the theatrical version. I think that it's cleaner. I think it's more precise, and I think it moves along at a faster pace. I think this one kind of gets lost in its own thought process. I think Chris Terrio had a lot of ideas. Some of them really exciting, but some of them I think he got a little bit too into his own head. So I felt that this movie slowed down the pace and put a lot of questions into the mix that didn't have answers or weren't answered well enough. So I actually much prefer the theatrical version. And as I said at the end of the live streaming, I would have, if I had been a Warner Brothers executive and I had been in the room to vote, I would be like, chop that movie down, because I think that the theatrical cut is just more rewarding. All right, let's see here. Next questions. All right. So Solomon Gray, I think I already answered one from Solomon Gray, but I like this one. Solomon Gray says, Grace, what's ding, ding, ding exactly? That's at the end of the movie when Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is in prison, and he's saying, and what he's referring to is that the bell has been rung. He says the bell has been rung and they've heard it. Now what that means basically is that he's sent out a signal somehow through that Kryptonian ship, which has the easiest user system ever, right? They're like, we're going to make it super easy to use this. Anyone can figure it out immediately. So Lex Luthor has sent out some sort of signal or beacon out into space, and he's also aware that Apocalypse somehow has heard it. Now, many people felt that that was like an educational thing where Steppenwolf was talking to Lex Luthor with the mother boxes. Having now seen the movie in that context, and when the end happens, I believe that was a communication perhaps, and that Lex Luthor was communicating with Steppenwolf, and he was saying there are 3 mother boxes. Because remember, that's what they revealed in the set visit about Justice League. There are 3 mother boxes on Earth. One is in Atlantis with Aquaman, one is on Themyscira with the Amazons, Wonder Woman's home, and then one is probably in Gotham or Metropolis or some, land-based city, right? So I think that that's probably what was going on, and so Lex Luthor maybe will factor in there somehow. And he's going to Arkham, which I thought was great. I loved that. Was an addition I really liked, particularly because, as I said, when I was watching it, I feel that Lex Luthor, particularly in this cut, really comes across as a Batman villain, not a Superman villain. So that's very interesting. All right, so let me find the next question. All right, you guys are great. So many great questions. Let's see here. I like this one. This is from Dex359, and Dex says, would you live stream again with another comic book movie? Oh, definitely. I had a lot of fun with this. I'm going to be keeping my eye out for another live experience. I might just do another Q&A sometimes. I thought this was really a lot of fun. I like making it around an event, though. Someone suggested maybe doing an awards show. I think that would be fun to do, but we're definitely going to be doing more live events. I was very pleased with the way this one worked, but it's only going to work if we keep it special. So I want to have suggestions. Also, somebody said maybe I should watch the first episode of Supergirl when it returns to the CW live. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff for us to do with this. I think this is a great new toy for us to play with. Just like Batman, we have some pretty wonderful toys. All right, let's see here. Okay. Sorry, I'm just making sure I get some good questions here. I saw a lot of you are asking about Green Lantern. Someone said for the Atom, for instance, said, did Dan Amboyer appear? I don't think that Dan Amboyer, whoever that is going to be Green Lantern. It's too pivotal a role, and they've already messed up with it once with Ryan Reynolds. They're not going to cast an unknown in that role of Green Lantern whenever he does show up. Warner Brothers has said the earliest he'll show up is Justice League Part 2 or whatever they're calling it now, because now they've said Justice League isn't a 2-parter. But the Green Lantern's very, very far away. And I think that's solely because they want to keep their distance from the Ryan Reynolds movie, which I can understand. And also, the Justice League, I think, is big enough. And they have Cyborg in there, which is different. All right, let's see here. Oh, I like this one. This is Eunice Sherdone. And Eunice Sherdone says, do you think that DC will ever catch up to Marvel? That's a great question. I'm not sure. I think that it's not really an issue of catching up. I think it's an issue of fan and audience perception. If people are willing to give DC a chance and give it room to grow and make some of those mistakes out of the gate, I mean, let's not forget that all the Marvel movies when they started out weren't fantastic. I'm not a huge fan of Iron Man 1, and I think that the first Captain America certainly was, I think, weak. So I think that people just have to give DC some breathing room, let it stumble and find its footing, and I think that everything will be great. Maybe that'll happen with Justice League. Maybe it'll happen with Wonder Woman. Maybe it'll happen with Suicide Squad. But I do hope that people aren't so quick to tear these movies down. I'm very nervous because, the press sees it before the audience does. And so they're able to really set the tone. And that's something that I think happened with Batman v Superman, where a lot of people didn't even go. And I'm a little bit nervous about Suicide Squad. Now, Suicide Squad might actually have problems. They've reshot an extensive part of it. And they've admitted in the Hollywood Reporter, in a Hollywood trade, in an industry trade, a very reputable source, that the third act it needs work. It's problematic. So maybe, to be honest, Suicide Squad isn't perfect. But even if it's not perfect, there's got to be enough good stuff there not to tear it apart, right? I think really we need to step back and, just, again, I said, give DC some breathing room. All right, so great question, though, Eunice. All right, Kevin G., most disappointing scene in the Ultimate Edition. And would you consider it ultimate? That's a good one. I would say this is like the talkie edition, right? Or the philosophical edition. I think this, or also almost I would say it's not the Snyder edition, it's the Terrio edition. This really like Chris Terrio's writing. I really feel strongly about this. I feel like Chris Terrio is very similar to Julie Taymor in what she did with Spider-Man. And I stand by this. I think that Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, the first half of that play or that musical, was very, very interesting. And I really liked seeing a comic book story adapted through the eyes of a non-fan. Not only a non-fan, but someone who's theatrical and someone who, was, a little bit more, I don't think intellectual is the right word because comic books are intellectual, but I think you know what I'm saying. And there were elements of that in this cut, like when Jonathan Kent was talking to Clark on that mountaintop. It felt very much like a play, right? Like the spotlight comes up and he talks to his dead father. If that happened in a theater, in a black box theater, you wouldn't blink and you'd be like, oh yeah, it's a play. But because you're not used to seeing it in a comic book movie, it weirds everyone out. And I think that's another aspect of, not stepping back and being like, okay, what are you trying to do here, DC? Let me try to figure it out and, give you the benefit of the doubt. Most disappointing scene in the Ultimate Edition, that would be the reveal that woman in the Senate who testified lied, and then also that the wheelchair that Scoot McNairy uses is lead-lined. I was very upset about that change. That really took a lot of almost all the blame for the explosion off of Superman, and it was very important for it to be there because that, it showed that he wasn't doing his job. He said, I didn't even look for it. And, why would you negate that? I think that's really important. I really hated that. All right, so let's pick another one here. Okay, I like this. Ash A says, what about the Nightwing rumor? When should Nightwing appear? The Batman movie? I would love to also see Nightwing. I think I talked about this in my speculation for a Batman solo movie. I think that while everybody in outside of comics, like in movies and TV, celebrates the villains in the Batman universe, Batman is the best supporting also, not only does he have the best rogues gallery, but he has the best cast of supporting characters. No other character has as many of their supporting cast with their own titles as Batman does. So I would love to see Nightwing show up. So there's some, I think we're frozen here. Oh, I just must have, let me see, make sure that's okay. Yeah, we're good. I'm sorry. That was a mistake on my part. So anyway, sorry about that. All right. So anyway, I would like to see Nightwing appear, and there's some speculation that Scott Eastwood is Nightwing from let's see here, from Suicide Squad, that he's going to be Nightwing undercover or something. I don't believe that necessarily. We'll see. I don't think so. There might be something interesting going on with his character, but I don't think he's Nightwing. I would like to see like a traditional Nightwing kind of show up, and I would like to see Batman working with a team, not just with Alfred. And Alfred had way too much to do in the Ultimate Cut, right? I was like, geez, does he have to bring you like orange juice with a flower on a tray? He was just building your cowl and checking your microphone. For Pete's sake, go to the refrigerator yourself, Bruce. All right, so I thought that was funny. Oh, I like this one. This is from Lego Mutant, and Lego Mutant says, did the movie feel like an R-rated movie. Yes, it did at some points because it was just so brutal. There were some points where you were just like, ooh. And also, for instance, like when that bad guy, when he got hit against the wall in the warehouse fight when Batman was going to save Martha and the crate hit him and then you could see the blood splatter on the wall. I bet you that exact same action happened in the PG-13 version in the theatrical cut, but they didn't put the blood in digitally against the wall, right? So he just got knocked out. So I think the brutality of the movie is what made it R. And sometimes also when the characters were like thrown around, like during the fight, the big fight with Doomsday against the Trinity at the end, Wonder Woman had that great shot where she was sent tumbling through the debris and she lost her sword and she lost her shield. It was right before she smiled. And I liked it. I think that tumble was extended and you just felt it. It was really tough. Although I think it made it seem more inappropriate that she smiled at the end of it. But yes, it did feel R-rated to me. However, I think it didn't feel R-rated in the way I think people were expecting. And maybe to some people that might have made them feel bad. All right, so let's get another question here. Okay, I like this. Cameron Sims said, based on Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman, do you think that Zack Snyder would do a good job with her solo film? I think he would do a good job with her action sequences, but I don't know. I have no idea what the Wonder Woman story is. I suspect we're going to see a very different Wonder Woman in that movie than you see here. Here you see a Wonder Woman that kicks butt and takes names, right? I'm censoring myself. So I hope that Warner Brothers makes the right move, that they're going to have a much more demure, innocent Wonder Woman show up in her own movie. Because a lot of people, for all the, the people not feeling the same way about Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, almost everyone agreed that they liked Wonder Woman. So messing up with her is, I think is a little bit tricky. So we'll see. I wouldn't use Zack Snyder, though. I think he does a fine job, but I'm ready for someone else to come and play. I don't think any of these universes should have just one director. I think it tends to make them seem a little stale, a little repetitive, no matter how good a job they do. I mean, I think Bryan Singer did a great job with X-Men Apocalypse, yet I really liked seeing Tim Miller bring a breath of fresh air into the X-Men movies with Deadpool. So, I mean, I think that these people can stay on as producers, but I would like to get fresh talent in there on other properties. So I would certainly not have Zack Snyder direct everything. All right, let's get a next one. Oh, I like this. Quinn Settle. Do you think the Bruce Wayne shower part should be in it? Yes, for those of you who have not yet seen the ultimate cut, there is Bruce Wayne shower butt in the movie. It is basically kind of a nude scene. I think that it was an interesting choice. I think that the characters in the movie that they sexualized, interestingly enough, were Clark Kent. But that makes sense because he and Lois are kind of like in this weird honeymoon phase, and that's what makes I think that was partially responsible for both of them being so irresponsible. So I liked that. But with Bruce Wayne in the shower, I don't know. I mean, I think it's tough. I think it's interesting maybe for guys watching this to be like, why'd you need to put that in there? And I think that's a lot of times how women feel when you have that kind of gratuitous nudity with a female character, right? So I just feel, if you're going to make something quote unquote adult and you want to throw in some eye candy, just make sure there's something for everyone, right? I mean, I thought it was tastefully done. I don't know. It's if you're going to have something like that, you should use it. Just like they cut Benedict Cumberbatch's shower scene from Star Trek Into Darkness. They filmed it, do something with it. All right. I like this. Jacob Whitfield says, question. The nightmare scenes seem to be set in the future. Where do you think the other characters are? Well, remember, the Flash came back and he said, you have to find us. I think that meant to bring them together as a team. Also, maybe they're lost somewhere in time, though. You don't know. I really like that. When I talked about the end credit sequence, I really feel, and I feel strongly about this, I feel like Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice should have had an end credit sequence, and that would have taken a lot of heat off of the movie, right? If you had just had an amazing end credit sequence that people got super excited about and just also made them look forward, right? I think to date, the best end credit sequence I've ever seen was at the end of Winter Soldier when the Romanoff twins debuted. I thought that was really spectacular and got to see their power set and everything. It was very, very cool. Now, when I talked about this, I had a couple of suggestions, but a viewer had a really good suggestion as well that I really liked. This came out of the discussion in the video, and that was, have the time treadmill that the Flash uses, cut to that, have him come out of his time jump to talk to Bruce in the movie that we saw, and see the Justice League, a battle-hardened alternate reality, version of the Justice League on the other side, being like, how'd it go? And the Flash is like, I was too early, but I tried to give him the best information I could. I think everybody would have geeked out over that hardcore, and again, as I said, would have taken some of the heat off this film. All right, let's see here. I like this. Okay, Sarvesh Sharma says, Grace, would you say that the exploration of Clark Kent's journalistic side helped give Superman's character more motive, which felt absent in the theatrical cut? Great question. They did do more with Clark Kent as a journalist in this cut, right? They had him going to Gotham, always on some lame assignment that Perry gave him, and then instead he was investigating the Batman situation. I thought that it made Clark Kent look difficult, and it made it look like Perry should have been a little bit sterner as a boss, right? I think the problem, there was so much going on in this movie. It was a little bit difficult that you couldn't really develop a lot of the characters, and that's what happens when you have a group movie. That's why you need to have the the spin-offs, the side movies. That's why they're so important. That's why maybe they should make a Man of Steel 2. Why they need to make a solo Batman movie. But I think that because they had so much plot going on, I think that both Lois and Clark were shortchanged as journalists, and neither one of them looked particularly good. But I do like the idea of Clark Kent as a journalist. I think it's incredibly important to his persona, and I'm glad they tried to put it in there. I would also like to say that I stand by the comment that I made while I was watching the movie, and that's that I still feel that Superman is not particularly well defined as a character, and therefore it's a little bit hard to connect with him. And that brings me to this next question with Ali Shahid. And Ali Shahid says, do you think Henry Cavill's acting as Superman lets the character down? That's a great question. Is it the acting or is it the writing? Is it the lack of Warner Brothers' indecision is to take a stand with the character in a certain direction? I kind of like that sometimes because I feel that Superman is lost. As I've said in some of my coverage of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, I feel that Lois, at first his father defined him, he saw himself through his father's eyes, and then when he lost his father, Lois took over and he sees himself through Lois's eyes, right? And that's why those people mean so much to them, because they define him more than he does. He's really, someone he's a big projector. But I think that Henry Cavill, I did feel it in this cut that perhaps he wasn't at the level of Ben Affleck. Now, I don't know, I don't know if that's, again, an acting situation or a casting where I think Ben Affleck has maybe the edge in terms of casting. As I said while I was watching the movie tonight, I feel it just like Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. I feel that Ben Affleck in many ways is Bruce Wayne, and it fits him like a glove. So I think he did a really, really, really good job. And that's why I think he has maybe perhaps a little bit of an unfair advantage because Henry Cavill doesn't match Clark Kent as well. This is a good one. Shep Harper, do you agree with Batman killing? I have to say, because this is an R-rated movie and they were a little bit more brutal in this cut, I did feel it this time. Also maybe because it was the second time around. The first time it was like shock and awe when I saw the movie. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. That was so cool. I can't believe they did that, right? This time I was like, that seemed a little unnecessary. And also, when they talked a lot about the characters, the criminals being branded by the bat symbol and then that would lead to a death sentence in prison, I don't understand why Batman wasn't like, oh, wait, is this getting people killed? Maybe I shouldn't do it. In my mind, I was like, Batman must not know about that. But then does this Batman know? In some ways, I felt like, hey, these are criminals. They're risking other people's lives. Like when that guy said, I'll do it. I'll burn Martha Kent alive. And Batman's like, I believe you. You're like, okay, well, that guy signed his own death warrant. But I felt a lot of the times when I was watching it this time, I don't know if it's the cut or the second viewing, whatever it is, but I was like, okay, not looking out for these people or being worried about them dying is one thing, but going a little further than you need to go to incapacitate them, maybe that is questionable. So I can see it. And, Warner Brothers executive would have watched this multiple times and maybe should have said, that seems a bit much. All right. Oh, this is a fun question. This is from Jonathan Green. And Jonathan says, hey, Grace, what do you like to eat at the movie theater besides popcorn? Also, what is your favorite DC superhero and comic book? Please answer my question. Emoji, emoji, emoji. All right, what do I like to eat at the movie theater besides popcorn? I like M&Ms. That's pretty good. And sometimes I'll get the chicken tenders, just the chicken tenders, if I feel like I would like some hot food. I have to say, though, I'm moving away from eating at the movies because I usually am done with my food. Like, I ate gummy bears. Here's my wrapper. I ate gummy bears while I was watching Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and like 20 minutes into the movie or something, I finished, and then I watched the rest of the movie, like 2 hours and 40 minutes with no snack. So I just maybe don't know if it's a good idea to snack so much during a movie. As for my favorite DC superhero, Batman, hands down. But favorite comic book? That's a little tricky right now because I feel that DC has lost its way a little bit with its storylines. I think the New 52 made things kind of it's a little bit like the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman. Too much talking, too complicated, too many conspiracy theories, and it's not back to basics. So we'll see. I've enjoyed some of the Rebirth comics that I'm reading, but off the top of my head, I can't tell you what my favorite DC comic book is right now. Although I will say I'm reading more DC comics than I was a couple of weeks ago when it was the New 52 still. Grow Nightmare, Civil War or BVS, DC or Marvel movies. I don't want to pick a side. I really feel very strongly that I think we should take each movie as it comes along, right? Not every Marvel movie is perfect and not every DC movie is horrible and vice versa. I think that it's important, and I don't think it helps either franchise to just give either one a pass or to condemn one. I think let's take each comic book movie as it comes, and I think that's the best way to have a lot of fun. All right, let's see here. Eddie Gahn says, who else would you have cast for the role of Lois Lane? Because I really do not like Amy Adams in that role. I think a big part is that she just does not look like Lois Lane. She looks like Lana Lang. And particularly because she looks so much like Lana Lang, she looks so much like another character, it bothers me even more. I think that the best Lois Lane is Terry Hatcher by far and away, and someone who has that kind of like gumption and that kind of great attitude. I mean, Lois is not, that's it, I think. Thanks for that question, Eddie Gahn, because you really clarified that Lois's whole thing is that she challenges Superman in his Clark Kent persona. She's tough with him. She's not supposed to be his cheerleader. She's supposed to be, his greatest critic. And really keep things real. She calls him Smallville. She, brings him back down to earth. And I think that's really important. And you don't have that with this Lois. This Lois is just like, he's so hot and sexy. I can't believe that's my boyfriend. And you're like, get it together, Lois. All right, let's see here. We'll stick around like for another maybe 5 minutes or so. I'm trying to get another question. Make sure I mix it up there a little bit. Tyra N says, do you think they will have the Watchtower in the Justice League movie? Well, they've already said that they're going to have some new vehicles, right? We have the Nightcrawler and the Flying Fox. Be like, who's naming these, Batman? He's like, Robin. Meet my new kid, Robin. But anyway, I think they'll have some version of the Watchtower. I think it's going to also probably be like an extended version of the Batcave, right? Batman will be like, I'm tired of having you all come over to my house. You leave a mess everywhere. I'm building you your own place, right? We'll see. Or maybe they'll just make the Batcave the new Justice League headquarters. Why does he need his own? Why does he need his own thing? I wouldn't see it. All right. I'm not sure if they're going to have it, but I wouldn't be surprised, Tyra. Lucas Gray says, can kids watch this version? If they can watch the other version, they can watch this one. It's a little bit more violent, but I think it happens so quickly, I think they would be fine. And there is Ben Affleck's butt. Let's see here. Oh, yes, the Invisible Cheshire. This is a good one. Do you think it was a missed opportunity to not tease Suicide Squad in this? Or do you think them distancing themselves from it is a good idea? Well, hey, it's too late because Ben Affleck is in Suicide Squad. So these movies are together. Yes, I think they definitely missed an opportunity. Every single time they were in a prison, I was like looking at all the other prisoners in the background being like, Will Smith, are you in there? Or maybe we could get like Slipknot or El Diablo, one of our secondary characters, right? Or Boomerang. I was really looking for some, maybe Amanda Waller could have been, when they were doing the drone strike at the beginning in Africa. Maybe that could have happened. That would have been great. I feel like I totally agree with you, the Invisible Cheshire. They really needed a Suicide Squad tease here. It just would have been a better idea. Let's see here. Okay. What are the mother boxes for? From Dagalove. Well, Dagalove, the mother boxes, they're, and you know, there's already, I wonder if one of them is actually the one at Star Labs that's used to create Cyborg. But I think that Cyborg's the way, when I watched it this time and I could see it really closely, the mother box like became the Cyborg metal suit. So he's not only a cyborg created by Apocalypse technology, he's living Apocalypse technology. He's a little bit like Doomsday to some degree because Doomsday was created with Kryptonian technology. So I think that's very interesting. We'll see what happens with the Justice League movie with that bit of information. But I think the mother boxes, they're basically like iPads, Apocalypse iPads. They have lots of information in them. They can be used as like some kind of, just like Bruce Wayne was able to sync phones with that guy at the Fight Club, the Underground Fight Club. Just think of them that way. Think of them as like iPhones or iPads from Apocalypse. They have boom tube technology, which allows you to teleport, basically. You open up a boom tube, which is a glowing tunnel of light that sometimes people fly through, sometimes they walk through. We'll see how they envision it in the Justice League movie. All right, let's see here. Next. Thanks, everybody, for staying up with me, by the way. Rifa says, why was there more explanation or reveals for Darkseid other than Steppenwolf? Not really, just the nightmare sequence, although I did love seeing that parademon up close at the end of the nightmare sequence when it not the end, but before, right before Batman is tied up downstairs in Superman's like sexy dungeon. I love that. I love seeing the parademon walk up right behind Batman and knock him out with a punch from behind. That was super cool. Close up on parademon. Loved it. Oh, I like this one. Greg C. says, hello, Grace. Thank you for being my date for this great movie. Ben Affleck is now my favorite Batman. How would you rank the theatrical Batman? Good question. Okay. I'm not going to include animated Batman or video game Batman, just the movies. By far and away, Ben Affleck is the best Batman. And also because he's the best Bruce Wayne. He mastered Bruce Wayne. I love that. I also think he does a great job portraying Batman's just absolute like blackness of a soul, right? Like he is just really at the end of his rope, and I love that. So I would say Ben Affleck by far and away blows all the other Batman out of the water. Next, I would probably go with Michael Keaton because I liked his Batman so much, but I did not like Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne. Then I would go Christian Bale because I thought that Christian Bale, he kind of was just there. He filled the suit and he filled the tux, and he looked the part. But he never really made me feel for the character in particular. Also, his Batman voice is hilarious and made for many a great joke. Then I guess I'd have to go next with George Clooney because at least it was just crazy, right? It was just so odd and zany. And then finally, I'd have to go with Val Kilmer because I don't think he really did anything. He didn't bring anything to the role whatsoever. Let's see here. Super Nelves. Super Nelves says, Grace, do you still feel like Zack Snyder tried to do too much? It feels crammed and too long still. Yeah, I think in this version, because they tried to put a lot more like thought and ideas into the movie, it did feel a little bit, like they were trying to do too much. And you're like, okay, there's too many plot lines. You guys are trying to do too much. Like, the theatrical cut to me felt like a symphony, right? And all the musical instruments played together and you were like, oh, what's that great sound? Oh, what's that great sound? And your head just kept getting turned in different directions. But here there were too many solos in the orchestra, in the symphony. And you were just kind of like, oh, well, by yourself, that instrument doesn't sound quite as good. And I'm listening it for so long that some of the excitement of hearing it in the first place wears off. So yeah, I think this cut is not favorable for that reason. Christo La Humana says, I love the Arkham bit. Yeah, sending Lex to Arkham. So good. All right, I'm going to do two more questions, okay? Let's see here. Kevin G. Do you like the way they introduced the Justice League, or do you think it is a cheap excuse to bring people to the movie? Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. I know a lot of people have said, oh, hey, I don't like that they just clicked on, Wonder Woman just clicked on some attachments to her email. Well, I spend a lot of time on my computer, right? So I guess maybe partially that's why I could really relate to it. Now, someone wrote Christopher Reeve. Yeah, I forgot to put Christopher Reeve in my rankings. I guess I was just doing the most recent. Oh no, Christopher Reeve was Superman. I'm sorry, I got distracted. All right, so anyway, the Justice League thing. Because I'm on my computer so much, clicking on attachments makes perfect sense to me, right? I love it. I think it's fantastic. I'm like, that's how I would discover the Justice League. Like, I guess it reminded me of like when we see on-set photos and we try to deduce how a movie is put together, right? It's the same kind of thing with like the way they did the Justice League coming together. And I think in today's world, when so much research is done on computers, that's how it would totally happen, right? I mean, they're not going to see these superhumans in the wild. They're going to find evidence and piece it together and then go find them in real life after, getting the evidence digitally. So I thought it was great. And I really liked the way it was done. And I thought it was great. All right, one more. I'll do two more. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Suicide Squad, says Sydney Burrier. An 11. I can't wait for Suicide Squad. Okay. All right, let me go down here. I want to get closer to some of the ones that were just recently asked. All right. Gary Busey is the best Lois Lane. Gary Busey is very similar to Amy Adams in this movie. Okay, here's a good question. Jorge Hugo Lopez Lesca. Oh, I know this guy's avatar. I see him all the time. He's been watching BTT for a while. Do you think this version would have been better received in theaters? No, I do not. I do not think at all that would have been better received in theaters. I think it might have been received even worse than this one was, because I, for instance, wouldn't have liked it as much. Again, I think my symphony analogy is appropriate. That this just didn't work for me. It wasn't as beautiful or as slick as the theatrical cut. I think that this one is just. I think this would have been a little bit more like. I think I think this wouldn't have had as many people defending it. To be perfectly honest with you. I guess I'll do one more. I'm having so much time talking to you guys. I can't stand it. Okay. Let's see here. I want to do one more. I want to get a good one. Oh, I like this one. We'll finish on this one. Even though it has nothing to do with Batman v Superman, it's DC related. This is from Ignacio Arias Valdivia. And it says, Gracie, what do you think of Harley in the comics now compared to the movie Harley? Really good. I think that Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, I've really come to like her a lot. I was very scared in the beginning. I thought that she didn't look so good in terms of her performance in the initial trailers, but I think that as the trailer, we've gotten more and more footage from the film, she looks like she's doing something truly special. Another just like Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Chris Evans as Captain America, Ben Affleck as Batman. I think that Margot Robbie is that well cast as Harley Quinn, at least this kind of version of the character. Now, on that note, I don't like that they've changed the comic book Harley Quinn to mimic Margot Robbie's. There's something about Margot Robbie's performance that makes it work, but for some reason when it's drawn, she just looks like a generic blonde with the Harley Quinn Suicide Squad from the movie stylings. And she looks more like a groupie. She just looks a little bit too much like a groupie to me, and it robs the character of a lot of her wit and charm. I liked the black and the red hair much better for the character, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. But Harley Quinn getting pulled in a lot of different directions. All right, so that's the Q&A. I had so much fun talking to everybody about this. Thanks for making this such a special experience. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Thank you for staying up late with me. I know some of you in the UK, it is 5 a.m. for you. Some of you in Europe even earlier. And thank you again for doing that. And don't forget to tweet me about what maybe you'd like to see as the next live event. We will definitely be doing this again. And also, if there are other times that might make it a little bit easier for other people, let me know that as well. All right. Thank you, everybody. I had so much fun. Bye.